I used to be a choreographer, so I'd set movement, and now I just love to see what happens in a group of people who's attuned to each other. I love helping people listen and then watching what happens. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Matthew Nelson, and I want to talk to you about this BraveSpace weekend retreat, Making Love with Life, that I'm holding June 20th, 22nd with my friend Claire Rumore. We'll be right here in my studio here in Boise. We'll be exploring contact improvisation, but also a larger frame of somatic movement and somatic ways of relating, right? Being based in the body's knowing and what it is to come home to our bodies, what it is to be in our sensuality and our sensual intelligence. That is the ability to feel. And from that place, to be able to catch our authenticity. I can't tell you the authentic thing I'm going to do tomorrow. It has to be felt. It comes through the being and then can be expressed. And when we can do that together and create a place that's safe enough for that, I call my work BraveSpace, because there's safe enough to take the risk of exploring the authenticity that's coming through. And that brings our belonging, right? Our belonging in our bodies, our belonging with each other, this communal possibility that we have. So what I'd love to do is go through this page with you and let you read it with you, and then also fill in some of the things. So you can scroll through the page and I'll speak. You can just leave this going and we can go from there. So this is a love story, right? So we tend to put love in a box. Well, there's so many ways we can come to love, including our meeting ourselves. This form of love is not the kind written in words, despite that you're reading them, but the kind that comes through touch and breath and the poetry and art of bodies moving in space. It's a love story of your body remembering itself, remembering the life force, remembering, putting back together, of longing to find its dance, right? The longing is so special in itself when we're able to hold it. And of trust unfolding between two people who may have never met, because we can feel each other, and yet we always have known each other, right? You find that with people after a while. There's energetic resonance. So the question, what if movement could be an offering or instead of a reaching? Movement includes reaching, but there's, hey, I'm here, without needing to go really and take something that isn't being offered, right? Intimacy is this space that we don't have to chase or defend, but a space of openness. Into me, see, it's about presence. So without shame, without grasping, without the fear. And there is always going to be some fear in intimacy. That's part of vulnerability, comes with intimacy. So it's like that vulnerable piece of like, yeah, I could get hurt. Willing to be with that, if that's what it takes. In this retreat, we'll explore what it means to say yes to life, to connection, to the intimacy that emerges when we trust ourselves and the moment. Somatic movement, and somatics is the overall field of moving and feeling. BraveSpace is a collection of principles and practices from across the somatic field in order that we can move to feel and better connect with each other and with Source. Vulnerability is not just a risk, but a doorway into deeper presence, into our embodied expression and shared belonging. This conscious container of BraveSpace is not a place where you need to perform. It's not a place for seduction. It's not something you need to achieve. It is definitely not a sex retreat that we'll be engaging in here. It is a place to honor the eros in everything, the life force that moves through its presence, connection, and embodied trust, the longing to be alive. And that is generative. The sexual models the erotic. It doesn't encompass it. It shows us a real direct path. Like, sexuality is very erotic. It is so alive. It actually can create babies, it creates joy, it creates ecstatic states. We can go to those states actually without going through the doorway of the directly sexual. We can do that in all sorts of other ways. It can be part of our lives all the time, the eros in everything. So we will create spaces where your body can tell its truth, where longing, tenderness, play, and stillness all have a place, literally a place, right? We set the room up for that. And within that, you can trust your body's yes and no. That's something we'll be working on, because that can really be called in. We can get better and better at understanding it, listening to that coming up in the body. We'll work with longing, move our longing, and even enjoy the longing. We'll be working with this sense of intimacy that's expansive and not overwhelming. Like, how do we stay centered in the midst of intimacy and stay ourselves with others? That's the focus. So here's how you will be able to access parts of yourself that actually already know how to do this, right? It's built into the body. Developmental movement patterning will be learning to move the way babies learn to move. And there's no instruction booklet that babies study on how to move, nor does it honestly come from the parents so much. Although being modeled, like there will be things modeled for you and your body will just pick it up. But a large piece of it is learning how to move from literally the ground up. That when we go down to the ground, the architecture of our bodies is set up to learn to move from the ground. And it's not something we do normally in our culture, but it's a brilliant way to learn to move better. Spatial dynamics. The space between us is alive. Like right now you're looking at a screen. Take a moment and take in the whole space that's around you. And then notice you can do that and look at the screen, although it makes it harder to focus on the screen perhaps. But we'll be working with the dynamics of actually how do we organize ourselves in space. There's direction. There's different ways the body actually is structured to work with space. And then there's the relationships we carry in space. Experiential anatomy. Your body is not a machine. It's not just muscle and bone. It's all these relationships. And our imagery makes a huge, huge difference in how we move. So we'll be working with imagery, and in some of this imagery is the actual imagery of our anatomy, which helps us understand the structure. Relational consent and repositioning. You'll learn how to put yourself where you want to be in connection, physically, emotionally, at any moment. And that means constantly repositioning ourselves, putting ourselves in a different place. And consent work's often taught as like what's coming at you. And I'm really interested in consent that's a lot wider than that. Where do I choose to put myself in relationship to you? That gives me a lot more power, right? I can be with a lot more if I recognize that I have choice, not just in what's coming at me, but where I put myself. So we'll be working with that. Contact improv is an amazing way to do it. We'll be working with sensual and attunement and intelligence, the compass of sensation. And so we'll be navigating this divine vitality that flows through us. And if we think about something that makes sense, right, that gets at it right there. It's not actually a thought. It's we can feel what makes sense. We talk about it like it's logic, and it's way beyond logic. So we'll be tuning into that, the sensual intelligence, this ability to feel and understand the life force coming through us from the inside. We'll be working with the erotic blueprints, and this is particularly Claire's department. It's interesting work around what turns us on, and we'll be looking at it not just in the sexual sense. I mean, it's certainly inclusive of that, but it's really about what brings our life force online, what makes us more present, what makes us more excited to be alive. Image initiation is coming back to this way of using imagery and allowing images to bring the myth of the constant story of our being alive, and to recognize archetypes that come up for us, and to be able to bring our imagination to bear on our experience, because what we imagine is real. We can bring something into being once we know for ourselves that it can exist. We can long for it. The longing is what manifests things. So it's kind of a manifestation mystery in that sense. So, who's invited? Well, this retreat is for those who are ready to fall in love with life. If you want to do that through movement, through connection, and through presence, well, you're invited. You might feel an edge about being willing to be seen and to trust that kind of a space. It's edgy, right? It asks us to open. So if you feel ready to enter that challenge, if it brings up a charge and like a, oh gosh, makes you feel a little on edge, might be for you, right? If you feel that intimacy isn't just about others, but it's about how you show up for yourself and how you show up in relationship to the divine, intimacy that's more than just, coupledom, then this is probably for you, if that's something you want to explore. If you want to meet the world without apology, shame, fear, and of course those things come up, but if you want to face them and look the fear in the eye and kind of resist apology, please, you're invited. We're here in Boise, June 20th, 22nd. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I am planning all day Friday. If you can't make it till Friday night or something, I think we can make space for that, especially if you've already worked with me. I have an online class that is on sensual intelligence that'll start April 21st. So if you're in that, I'll feel pretty good about you being able to miss the first day if you need to. Let me know. Let's talk about it. The pricing has quite a range. That top tier, the $777, includes a private session with me, and I can only do a couple of those unless you want to stick around. I'll do a Thursday afternoon or the Monday after. So I'm happy to work with you privately. I do hands-on body work and movement therapy, and we can do a session together. So that is inclusive of a session, and it's also, if you really want to support the work, I'd be honored to receive that support. Then there's a sliding scale from $444 to $555, the regular rate. And then there's a work trade, $333. Check in with me if there's some work trade you'd like to be a part of. I'd love to have some people shooting video, doing interviews with people, helping to clean, make sure things are where they need to be, stuff like that. There is an early bird discount mid-late May, and that's $50 off. And if you bring a friend, you'll each get $50 off too. So this is a love story, right? We are making love, creating a field of divine love that is our beingness with these bodies. That's beautiful, as far as I'm concerned. It's the way I'd like to be. I want to just talk a little bit about Claire and how I know Claire. I met her at a Northern California Dance Collective summer dance camp. Enjoyed dancing with her, enjoyed her presence, and we just got talking, and that conversation's been going for years now. And Claire is one of the people I know who is most clear about how to hold Eros in a way that's inclusive of making love with life. And she's a tantric educator. She's filled herself with knowledge and experience of how we engage within a cultural frame that tends to be pretty narrow, how we open that and de-shame our eros, our aliveness, including but not limited to the sexual. So again, this isn't a sexual retreat, but it's definitely going to be erotic and working with what brings us alive. And we're going to clear the shame out of the way around how our sexuality fits into that. And there is no one I can imagine feeling more supported in that by than Claire. So super honored that she's chosen to teach this retreat with me, and I look forward to sharing her with you.